Hello, and welcome to the November 2017 edition of FYI, Nash Community College's very own news program. I'm Xavier Johnson, along with the rest of the Studio 67 crew, and we'll be taking you around Nash Community College to show you what's been going on this past month. Let's jump into some news. Registration for the upcoming spring semester here at the college was held November 15th from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. in the Brown Auditorium. Classes beginning Monday, January 8th. If you are a new student and would like to register for classes, extended registration will be held on January 3rd from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. in the Brown Auditorium, and January 4th in the Student Enrollment Services Department. If you are a returning student and still need to register for classes, you may do so on WebAdvisor, which will remain open until 11:59 p.m. on January 4th. You are encouraged to register early to get your classes that you want while ensuring that you are staying on track with your program completion. Students who register for the spring semester classes and complete one of 3 payment options by Thursday, January 4th will be entered in a chance to win a $100 or one of 2 $50 gift certificates to Nash CC's campus store. Payment options include paying your account balance in full via WebAdvisor or at the cashier's window, setting up a payment plan through NetNail Business Solutions, or receiving a reward letter from NCC's Financial Aid Office for approved grants, scholarships, and loans for the spring 2018 semester. To learn more about setting up a payment plan, visit mycollegepaymentplan.com/NashCC for more information. The 42nd Annual Scholarship Awards were held on November 2nd in the college's Brown Auditorium. The Nash CC Foundation awarded over 200 students scholarships totaling in $262,335. President of Nash Community College, Dr. William S. Carver, NCC Alumni Foundation Board President Robin Perkinson, and Executive Director of NCC's Foundation Pam Ballou all addressed those in attendance. Robin shared how vital scholarships awarded to her during her time as a student here at Nash by stating, "I could never afford to attend Nash without the scholarships of the Nash Community College Foundation. Because of the generosity of businesses and donors of the foundation, I had a future and became the CEO of Life Care Hospitals of NC." More than $2 million have been awarded to students since the NCC's foundation in 1983 beginning. Students interested in applying for a scholarship can visit nashcc.edu/scholarships. If you are interested in contributing to the NCC's foundation scholarships, please call 252-451-8329 or visit nashcc.edu/give. As a part of the Nash Reads program, a discussion panel titled "The Impact of Choice" was held on October 25th. Staff, students, faculty, and community members were invited to attend and participate in this discussion, where panel members spoke about the impacts that our individual choices can make on our lives.
Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to our panel discussion on the impact of choice. As the Nash Reads Committee, every year when we look at books and when we think about activities that we're going to plan, one of our goals is to stimulate discussion. One of our goals is to think about what can we talk about, what topics can we introduce. And if you've read The Other Westmore, which you may have, you may not have, you may be here simply because you want extra credit, and that's fine too. But when you read The Other Westmore, there are a lot of topics we could talk about. We can talk about resources for single mothers. We can talk about education for adults as well as kids. You can talk about communities, neighborhoods that kids live in, guns, drugs, the availability of those, teen pregnancy, economic situations in which people live. There's a lot we can talk about. But at the end of the day, both Westmores made choices in their lives that impacted one to become a Rhodes Scholar and one to end up in prison for the rest of his life. And so we decided for our first panel to talk about the impact of choice. And we are really excited to have several guests with us today to talk about their experience with that, with choice. Ms. Keisha Spivey is a youth pastor with Church on the Rise, and she's going to talk about, she's the author of a forthcoming book, The Pastor and the Prisoner, and it's a similar story to The Other Westmore. So she's going to talk about the impact of choice in her life and her family's life and those different paths that they resulted in. Tom Bayshore is Chief of Police for Nashville, North Carolina, and he's the founder of the HOPE initiative that provides choice for people who are struggling with drug addiction. And so he's going to explain that to us, tell us about what that offers. And we are especially grateful to have Joe with us today, who has been a participant in the HOPE program. And Joe's also going to share with us some life choices that he has had. And so, Ms. Bobby, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I am in the process of having my book published, and it is called A Pastor and a Prisoner, and it's Destiny-Defining Decisions. And what happens is you don't quite realize how one decision impacts the next decision, and you also don't realize that the biggest decision that you're going to make ever in your life is the next decision that you're going to make. You can't go back and undo things, but you can start fresh. For me, I grew up in this area, and I did not grow up in, I guess, what you would say the most amazing, awesome, happy family. My parents loved me. However, they didn't quite know how to provide the things that we all needed because they were both struggling with some of their own issues. And so it was me, I have a brother and a sister, and we all were in the same house, raised by the same parents up until we finished high school. However, due to some decisions that I made, and this is not to be prideful for myself, because my brother, I believe, is way smarter than I am. My sister will outwork me any day. However, we made different decisions that impacted our lives. Out of 3 children, same mom, same dad, I'm the only one who has a college education. I'm the only one who has a driver's license. I'm the only one who doesn't have a criminal record.
I don't know how many of you have heard of the HOPE initiative, but it is based on an angel program that started up in New England back in the summer of 2015. And then New England at the time was experiencing a lot of overdose deaths from heroin. And when we started looking at the program down here, we knew that it was just going to be a matter of time before it got to North Carolina, the same way it was up in New England at that time back in 2015. And now you can see, if you turn on the news or read the newspaper, you are going to see that it is a problem all over the United States. And so it is definitely here in North Carolina. So in a nutshell, what the HOPE initiative does is it allows individuals that have a substance use disorder to come to the Nashville Police Department, and if they have any drugs or paraphernalia on them at the time, they can turn that over to us, and we do not charge them with a crime. And so, yes, I've had people say, well, Chief, what if somebody walked in the door and asked for help and they gave you a kilo of heroin? Would you arrest them? And the answer to that is no. The promise that we made was that we would not arrest people for that. Now, there's not much I can do from the choices, the bad choices, I should say, that they've made previous to that if they have pending charges. But the district attorney is fully on board with the program in order to help individuals.
People just don't even realize what a drug addict goes through. But I have been clean 11 months, hard, 11 months, hard. Withdrawals, oh man, you can ask my wife. It's crazy. You wake up, don't even want to be here on earth because you got to get that pill, cravings. And I still have bad days. But I think about my kids and my wife, I got to fight it. I told the chief, in detox, I'm going home. I can beat this. You got to have it in your mind. And you got to have loved ones that support you. And I can honestly say, this man right here probably saved my life and my wife. 11 months. I'm still going on. Opiates, marijuana, cocaine, I can honestly say I'm drug-free. But it's out there. It's tempted. Peer pressure, oh my God, it's hard. And it's still going to be hard for me from now until the day I die.
The entire panel discussion can be viewed on our YouTube channel, Nash College. On October 27th and 28th, the Nash Community College Drama Club treated the community to 2 episodes of The Twilight Zone. Performances were held at the Nash Arts Center in Nashville. Let's take a look at some clips of the Twilight Zone production.
We're waiting, Frisbee. How do you go from Paris to Berlin in just 1 hour?
Well, that's what made the operation so fantastic. I did some reconnoitering and found a back route.
Well, that's interesting, Frisbee. Except last week, you sat right in that dang chair and told us you were in the balloon court over the Battle of Marne, where you shot down 3 German Fokkers with a pistol, and that you directed the artillery so that the Marines could win.
Well, I did. I did indeed. But that was a year later. Let's see, that was April 1917. Looks like rain. Tell by the clouds. Always tell by the clouds.
The reluctant gentleman with the sizable mouth is Mr. Frisbee. He has all the drive of a broken camshaft and the aggressive vinegar of a corpse. As you've no doubt gathered, his big stock in trade is the tall tale. Now, what he doesn't know is that the visitors out front are a very special breed, destined to change his life beyond anything even his fertile imagination can manufacture.
Mr. Frisbee.
Frisbee here.
Mr. Frisbee, if you walk out of your store and head east down the highway for 200 yards, you'll have quite an adventure.
How's that?
You're not frightened, are you?
Me? Frightened? Stonewall Frisbee? Why, Dwight David Eisenhower said to me when I was the first man to climb into a landing craft headed for the French coast, and that was June 6, 1944. Stony Ike said, you lead the invasion. There'll be German U-boats, Stuka dive bombers, mines, coast artillery, but you can do it.
Exceptional. Well?
Well, I don't think I better take that walk. Looks like rain.
Then you are frightened. We had thought that you'd be the one man willing to take almost any risk.
Well, that very well may be, but may I ask who was saying all this?
If you walk down the road as I suggested, you'll find out.
Well, rain or no rain, I never was one to duck a little excitement. Who are you?
You'll find out.
This being the last afternoon of the semester and 3 days before the Christmas holiday, I think it behooves me to show some minute degree of compassion to you and let you out early. I might add, however, that while your final examination papers are not yet ready to be returned to you, that you have all, amazingly enough, passed.
Oh boy!
Yes, my sense of delight is only exceeded by my sense of shock. In all of my years of teaching, it is rare that I have encountered such a class of dunderheads. But nice dunderheads, and potentially fine young men and women who will make their marks and leave their marks. God bless you all, and Merry Christmas!
Professor Ellis Fowler, a gentle, bookish guide to the young, who's about to discover that life still has certain surprises, and that the campus of the Rock Springs School lies in the direct path of another institution, commonly referred to as the Twilight Zone.
Does go to show one thing, doesn't it? Proves that a man should read his mail. Really should read his mail.
Merry Christmas, Professor.
Merry Christmas, sir. Miss Graham, Mr. Halliday, Merry Christmas to you both. Don't eat too much turkey. You're fine young students, both of you. Merry Christmas.
Professor Ellis Fowler, teacher who discovered rather belatedly something of his own value, a very small scholastic lesson from the campus of the Twilight Zone.
If you missed this production and like what you saw, you can catch it in its entirety on our YouTube channel, Nash College. Stay tuned to FYI. We'll be right back with more news after this quick break.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
Hey, this is Frank Bookart with Brewing NC. I'm here with Cameron Schultz, Hot Fly Brewing Company. Join us November 30th at 6 p.m. We're going to talk a little bit about his beer, brewing, and the brewing community.
Nash Community College and Debbie Fund, established in memory of Debbie Carnegie, hosted a Bounty and Barrel event on November 7th at the college's Business and Industry Center. The event highlighted hospitality and management, culinary, brewing, distillation, and fermentation students and faculty. During the seasonal flair, it included bison, shrimp, deer, flounder, and local produce. In addition to delicious foods, guests were also able to sample aged spirits and Nash Community College's student brewed beer. A chat with the Chief Informational Session with NCC's President Bill Carver was held on November 8th at the Hawk's Nest. Topics discussed included new additions to campus, new program offerings, and other information pertaining to Nash's student body. Students, faculty, and staff were invited to celebrate Puerto Rico Day on November 16th. A featured topic of the day was the Jones Act. NCC's History Professor Dr. Peacock can tell us more about the topic. Let's take a look now.
I'm Dr. J. Peacock, Professor of History at Nash Community College. Most people are aware of the catastrophic devastation wrought on the island of Puerto Rico by Hurricane Maria in September. However, many people don't understand the relationship that Puerto Rico has with the United States, or even that the island is part of the United States. In 1898, the United States, which was just stepping onto the world stage in a big way, went to war with Spain. As a result of the Spanish-American War of 1898, the United States acquired pieces of the once mighty Spanish Empire, including Guam and the Philippine Islands in the Pacific, and Puerto Rico in the Caribbean. When the war began, few Americans knew or cared about Puerto Rico, but the administration of President William McKinley decided to annex the island as an indemnity from Spain for the cost of the war, and because of its strategic location guarding the approaches to a proposed canal through Central America. American troops under the command of General Nelson Appleton Miles conquered Puerto Rico without serious opposition. Indeed, many Puerto Ricans welcomed the United States. General Miles announced that the U.S. intended to give Puerto Rico the immunities and blessings of the liberal institutions of our government. But instead of granting such blessings, Congress passed the Foraker Act of 1900, which made Puerto Rico an unincorporated territory, a possession of the United States, but not really part of it. Thus, Puerto Rico became America's first legally established overseas colonial government. Most Puerto Ricans were not happy with this. The Spanish had granted the island a large measure of autonomy. As a Puerto Rican newspaper complained in 1901, we are and we are not a foreign country. We are and are not citizens of the United States. The Constitution applies to us and does not apply to us. Between 1901 and 1904, the U.S. Supreme Court, in a series of decisions referred to as the insular cases, ruled that the Foraker Act was constitutional and that the U.S. could govern the island without the consent of its people for an unspecified period. The territory's people were at the mercy of Congress. In 1917, the United States entered World War I. That year, Congress finally granted Puerto Ricans citizenship through the Jones Act. Some cynical Puerto Ricans took the view that the U.S. needed cannon fodder for the war, and citizenship made Puerto Ricans eligible for the military. At any rate, it was another Jones Act, more properly known as the Merchant Marine Act of 1920, that eventually became a source of great controversy. This Jones Act is an example of how well-intentioned actions can often have unforeseen negative consequences. During World War I, German submarines had sunk nearly 5,000 ships. The Jones Act of 1920 was designed to ensure that the United States maintained a shipbuilding industry and a seafaring labor force. Section 27 of the Act requires that all goods transported by water between American ports be carried on American-flagged ships. In addition, every ship must be constructed, crewed, and owned by American citizens. The Jones Act thus prevents foreign-flagged ships from carrying cargo between the U.S. mainland and certain non-contiguous parts of the United States, such as Puerto Rico, Hawaii, Alaska, and Guam. Defenders of the Jones Act argue that by requiring all transport between U.S. ports to be carried on U.S.-built ships, the Act supports the domestic U.S. shipbuilding industry. Other supporters argue that the Act is vital to national security, partly because it prevents the U.S. from having insufficient maritime capacity in wartime, which happened during World War I. And still others argue that the Act is vital to helping maintain a viable workforce of trained merchant mariners, and in addition, protects these seafarers from deplorable living and working conditions often found on foreign-flagged ships. But the Jones Act also has many critics, including Arizona Senator John McCain, who has called it an antiquated law that has for too long hindered free trade, made U.S. industry less competitive, and raised prices for American consumers. McCain has called for repeal of the law, as have the Heritage Foundation, the Cato Institute, the Manhattan Institute, and several major publications. As for the Jones Act's impact on Puerto Rico, studies by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York have indicated that the Act may hinder economic development on the island. Thanks to the law, the price of goods from the U.S. mainland is at least double that in many neighboring islands, including the U.S. Virgin Islands, which are exempt from the Jones Act's provisions. Moreover, the cost of living in Puerto Rico is 13% higher than in 325 urban areas elsewhere in the United States, even though per capita income in Puerto Rico is only $18,000, close to half that of Mississippi, the poorest of all 50 states. All of this became more urgent after the terrific devastation caused by Hurricane Maria. In order to speed recovery efforts, President Trump suspended the Jones Act, but only for 10 days. A repeal or modification of the Jones Act would speed the island's recovery and, according to many experts, would support future economic progress in Puerto Rico.
Special thanks to Dr. Peacock for that information. Dr. Peacock also provided a history of the Jones Act on Puerto Rico Day to those who choose to attend. Other activities of the day included a petition signing to repeal the Jones Act and a chance to partake in a Puerto Rican rice bowl dish served at lunch prepared by the Midway Cafe. It consisted of rice and pigeon peas. Donations were accepted to assist hurricane relief efforts in Puerto Rico on the 16th, in addition to a Zuma-a-thon event held on the 11th, in which fees to attend also went towards to help hurricane relief efforts. Nash Community College's first ever intramural basketball game took place on November 9th in the Continuing Education Building's multipurpose room. I got a chance to check out the action on the court and even interviewed the game's announcer, Daniel Wilson. Hey, I'm Xavier Johnson with FYI, along with Mr. Wilson. Hey, Mr. Wilson, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Great. Okay, let's talk about the new basketball team here at Nash. What is the new basketball team and program?
All right, well, that's a great question. I don't think it's really a basketball team per se, but it is our first ever Nash Community College intramural sports, was that particularly basketball. And it's just a program where the faculty and staff can engage with the students and, you know, another way to connect with the students here on campus.
All right, and how did the basketball team here get started, per se?
Okay, we want to give a shout out to Dr. Mulbutter for that one. You know, I believe it's his idea of wanting to, you know, connect deeply with the students in a more competitive way. And, you know, he sat down with a couple of us and said he thought it would be a good idea we can kind of get some teams together and compete with the students, you know, faculty and staff to compete with the students.
All right, I believe it's all about that blue love here at Nash Community. What is some of the requirements here to join the team or be a part of this certain program?
Okay, very easy. It's very easy steps to getting started to being a part of this program. The first and foremost thing is you want to do is reach out to Sarah Norris or myself by email, and then once you get done with that, you can actually fill out the waiver form. And once you fill that out, then you'll be able to start participating in the intramural sports.
Will you guys be playing other colleges, or who will y'all be playing?
Who knows? I'm a bigger picture person, and maybe this is the beginning to a great thing we have in here. However, at this point in time, we just want to compete with the faculty staff against the students and just create teams amongst ourselves. So who knows? Maybe from here we can get something bigger going.
All right, so right now y'all are just building that teamwork aspect of the team.
Yes, sir. You know, once again, trying to connect with the students on a different level. You know, trying to compete and have a good time.
All right, and will this program continue in the spring?
Yes, it will. I don't have those dates in mind, but the next dates coming up will be November the 30th, and the next one will be December the 8th. So November 30th and the 8th.
All right, thanks for speaking with me today.
All right, thank you.
And that's it for this month's edition of FYI. Please join us on December 13th for a special holiday edition and also featuring more information on what's going on at NCC and the Greater Rocky Mount community. I'm Xavier Johnson on behalf of Kate Britton and the rest of the Studio 67 team. Happy November.